Okay, well, that's the ball game. Game's not over, but we just failed on a fourth down. Kirk got sacked again, and that's it. The Vikings will lose, and I just checked the Cardinals-Giants score. Cardinals are up 23-7 pretty late in the fourth, so the Vikings will fall back out of the playoff position. I believe they'll still be then the first team beyond that, but yeah, I mean, look, I thought the Vikings would lose today, and I picked the Cardinals to win, so I thought we'd be in this position at the end of the day, but as my thing's falling here, but the circumstances behind what happened are not what I thought would happen, and you know, they never are. Here, hold on one sec. So much for that. Along with everything else, my little stand didn't want to work. But fucking frustrating game. I mean, under the circumstances, you know, just going in, just on paper, going into this game, playing Tampa Bay on their home field, off a bye. We don't have Kendricks. We don't have Rudolph. Again, I beat the dead horse with the defense being depleted. It is a depleted defense. You know, like, it was always going to be a hard task. And this game was made basically impossible by three things. I already did the Dan Bailey video. I don't know that I want to repeat myself too much. He did fucking screw us again in the second half here. We're driving. God, what was it? What was the score at that point? It was 23-14. Yeah, 23-14. We got a first and goal on a Kirk run, and then our offensive line just imploded, and Kirk got sacked a couple times. So we have to try a field goal, like a 46-yarder, and Bailey, he pushed that one too. It's like and it wasn't even close. It's not like it's just grazing by the upright. It was just terrible. And you know, Tampa Bay goes down, kicks a field goal, and it's been a 12-point game ever since. But I mean, I've already done the Bailey thing, the Bailey video. There's no justification for him remaining on the roster after today. I'm sorry. This was a game that see how things play out here. We still got 3 weeks to go. Cardinals still have a tough schedule remaining. Vikings still have a couple pretty, on paper, not easy. Nothing's easy this year, but very, very winnable games. And the whole team, like most of the team, played very well today. It doesn't look like it. You look at the scoreboard, it says 26-14, but most of the team played well today. But you can't overstate how much just that fucks you to just miss these kicks over and over and over. Because even if you want to like allow the 54-yarder, okay, you maybe give him a break on that. But the two other field goals and the missed PAT. Now they went for two after a touchdown, so they wouldn't have done that. So you can even wipe out the PAT if you want. But the two missed field goals, those have to be made. Like mid 40-yard field goals, those have to be made. And the first missed field goal wasn't even that long. Those have to be made. You have to make them. I'm sorry. So even if you put those two on there, it's a very different game. Like just the momentum, it sucks the energy out. It sucks the energy out of me, and I can't. It's gotta suck the energy out of the fans or the players. But Bailey, he has to be an ex-Viking if he's released by the end of the night. It's completely justified because this was the most crushing failure by a Vikings kicker since Blair Walsh against Seattle in the playoffs. I mean, I can't think of one. I mean, I guess that Daniel Carlson game in Green Bay, which technically kind of fucked us for the playoffs because we would have won that game instead of a tie, and that would have got us in the playoffs this year. But I mean, this might have been our season as the final seconds tick off. Um, so, but second thing, offensive line, just awful, just awful. Now they weren't awful the whole game. You know, they were breaking open holes for Dalvin. Like the running game in the first half was fantastic. Like, and this is against, you know, this was considered a very bad matchup for us because Tampa's defensive front is so good. But we were running big time. It wasn't just Cook. Cousins got out, ran a few times. Boone got in there, ran a couple times. Abdullah, we were running. Um, but then kind of everything that happened with with Bailey and then with the refs, which believe me, I'm going to get to that. It just switched the whole game around. It like put us from a game where we're kind of just, you know, it turned a close game into a game where we're playing big time catch up the whole game, which puts us in even worse position with the offensive line because Tampa Bay knows we got to throw most of the time, and they were get the whole game. I've never seen one quite this bad where I don't know that they, you know, they may have been blitzed a few times, but it was just they were rushing 4 on R5 and they were just destroying the pocket on every single play. And that was going on the whole game. You know, and Kirk got out there and ran a few times, but I don't think those were designed runs. You know, like you want the offensive line to at least be competent in these games. We know we don't have a good offensive line. You know, it's kind of like what we had going last year, where the offensive line was competent against most teams, but if you played a really good defensive front, we were still, you know, playing at a big disadvantage. But I thought we had improved a little bit. Like, I know we're not great, and Dakota Dozier is garbage, and now we had a couple injuries today, so I didn't even know who was necessarily in and out on all these plays. I saw Drew Sabia on the field. We never wanted to see him out there again. But you know, but the offensive line just was terrible, and you know, obviously we had a 1st and goal, down 23-14. We were, you know, comeback Kirk was in effect, and then they just get destroyed on 2 consecutive plays that put us way. We had like 4th and goal from like the 28 or something like that, something absurd. You know, and then at the end, you know, it was desperation at that point. We weren't going to win, but you know, they can't protect Kirk at all today, and it was just terrible. And you know, I put very little of it on Kirk, and I know he'll get all the blame because he always gets all the blame. But I don't put you know, Kirk didn't play one of his fabulous games, but under the circumstances for him, he played pretty well. Offensive line gave him no fucking chance at all on a lot of very, very crucial moments of this game. You know, it was just terrible. Like, the offensive line was just a sieve at so many crucial moments, and the whole game, you know, the whole second half. Then, you know, you're playing big time comeback games because this thing went from, it was 7-6 them. We're trying that long field goal by Bailey, which should never have been attempted at that point. That was a big mistake by Zimmer. From that point till it was 23 to 6, we were on 3 offensive plays. We had a 3 and out at the end, late in the first half, and those were the only plays we ran. Because, you know, after the missed field goal, they go get a touchdown. We're gonna get to the field goal that they got before the half, and then they got a touchdown to start the second half on their first drive. So you're going instantly into major comeback mode. You can't run. They know you can't run. I mean, we ran a little bit still, but you got to go away from it to a degree. You know, and they ran well. Like, I think I saw Cook was the first 100-yard back against Tampa in a long time, but for what? You know, most of that was the first half when this was still a game. But yeah, offensive line was just terrible. You can't do that, and some of that's on Kubiak too for not calling different plays. But you know, I thought the play calling was pretty good in the first half. Like the offense was moving. The offense, you know, they were in scoring position multiple times. Like you got to put points on the board. Like we know that the defense. And again, I'll give the defense credit. They played pretty well today under the circumstances. I don't have a problem with the defensive performance today. They got beat on a few plays. Look, again, no Kendricks, no Hunter, depleted defense. We know what's going to happen. You know, but to only give up 26 points with everything else, like I'm not too mad about that. Okay, third thing that, and look, we know what the NFL is about. You know, even diehard fans deep down know that the NFL has their favorite teams, has their favorite players, and they are going to do what they can, you know, especially in a situation like this where a team quarterbacked by Tom Brady, teetering on the edge of maybe not even making the playoffs, you know, we can't let that happen. You know, most of the issue with this game being this officiating today was contained largely in that end of the first half, which was right after I did the Bailey video. That I was like, oh my god, I should have just waited and done a halftime video. So that, you know, I mean, it started early. The BB on the punt return, he's on the ground, and a guy for Tampa Bay comes in, spears him with the crown of his helmet, like in the back of his head, too. Nothing's called, nothing is thrown. You know, they went to commercial. I was like, okay, they're going to come back from commercial and say that was a personal foul, right? No, didn't happen. But second half, end of the second half, horrible call on Harrison Smith. I'm sorry, that's not being called on other players. Harrison Smith is being targeted this year by the officials. He just is. It's amazing how everything gets called on Harrison Smith this year. You know, he wasn't ejected this time. You know, but again, it's one of these. Defender lowers the head, offensive player lowers the head, but they only call it on Harrison Smith. You know, and this is something they almost always only call on the defense, but it's only getting called on Harrison Smith. Like it's unbelievable. You know, and that was a third down play. They were only going to get a field goal. That was going to be so it was going to be 10-6 at that point. Instead, they get a first down. Then, you know, Golden Boy throws a pass, corner of the end zone. I forget, I think it was Mike Evans, he stumbles and falls down. But they throw a PI on Gladney. And Gladney might have had an interception there. I didn't really see the replay too well on whether or not he got a pick, but it wouldn't have mattered because they called PI on Gladney, even though he didn't do anything. Receiver falls down. Receivers can fall down. It's not because of the defensive back. So there you go. That was, you know, then they had first and goal, scored quickly. But we're just getting fucking started. So we have our 3 and out, our bad offensive series. Didn't take much time off the clock either. We punt. They they threw a pass. Got slightly inside the 50. And, you know, Golden Boy runs up. We see the clock at 1 second. We see the clock stay at 1 second for like at least 3 seconds. Snap, grounding the ball. Clear as day. Clear as day. The time ran out in the half. Unless the clock on the scoreboard was as off as you could ever be. Because there were at least 3 seconds that ran off in that 1 second. But they give him a play. So they throw a Hail Mary. And they call pass interference in the end zone. I forget who actually got called for it. That might have been Gladney also, but all that happened was I think it was that future CTE victim Gronkowski. He bumped into defensive back, and they threw a flag for that. Could have just as easily been OPI. You know, why is the offensive player initiating contact? Why is that a flag? That's every Hail. Have you ever fucking seen a Hail Mary? Every Hail Mary that's ever been thrown has guys bumping into each other in the end zone. But they called it on us. They called it in favor of Brady and the CTE victim Gronk on this day, and gives them a first goal to one. They only kicked the field goal. So refs absolutely give them that field goal. You know, wasn't too bad in the second half, I guess, of officiating, but they'd done their job. They'd already turned one Buccaneers field goal into a touchdown, and they turned a nothing into a field goal. So that's 7 points right there that were absolutely handed to Tampa Bay. So just like that, it's 17-6 at the half, and you know, between Bailey and the officiating, you could tell all the energy was just sucked out of the Vikings at that point, and they never really got it back. Second half, they just go right down the field basically. I mean, at that point, it's like, what can you do? You know, you're not being allowed to play because the officials have determined what's going to happen in the game, and even if you are allowed to play, Bailey's going to fuck it up for you, or the offensive line's going to fuck it up. So, you know, and they tried to make a comeback. They put together one touchdown drive. Kirk found her for a touchdown, and they got the two. But, you know, and then again, they were driving again. They had a first and goal, down 9 points with a lot of the fourth quarter to go. And then the offensive line just gets Kirk killed on consecutive plays, and Billy misses the field goal, and there was never really a moment after that the game was in doubt. You know, they tried a little desperation drive at the end, but that was all for naught. So, I mean, like, I expected the Vikings to lose today because of just everything going in, and Cardinals are finishing up a win here. I expected the Cardinals to win. It's like, thanks a lot, Giants. Where was the Giants team from last week? Giants going to Seattle, fucking dominate Russell Wilson. Now they go home and they get dominated themselves by Kyler Murray. Same kind of quarterback. I don't get it, but so the Cardinals are 7-6. They're in that last playoff spot now. We're back to 6-7, and we got the Bears. Bears in the home finale next week, and then it's a short week at New Orleans, and then at Detroit. You know, look, we can beat the Bears. I mean, the Bears actually won today. I think it looked like they were blowing out Houston. So I don't know if that's good or bad. Sometimes you don't want to play the team that's on the losing streak. But I mean, you know, we can beat the Bears. Like, what's fucking frustrating is a lot of this team played well today. Like, the running game was really good, way better than anyone thought it would be. Defense was solid. Like, under the circumstances, they were very solid. Like, if anyone had said Tampa Bay is only going to score 26 points today, any rational Vikings fan is going to take that. With no Kendricks and an already depleted roster, and you're facing a team with all those offensive weapons in their home stadium with their home refs, you know, anybody would have taken that. Anyone takes 26 points. And, you know, I thought Cousins was solid. Like, they didn't get much going with Thielen or Jefferson today. But, you know, the dink and dunk stuff was working. You know, Conklin, I don't even know how many catches he had. He had a bunch. You know, like, the offense moved. You know, the offense was in position to score a whole lot more than 14 points today. If, you know, your kicker can do his fucking job and your offensive line doesn't absolutely melt down at key moments all the time. And, of course, the Bailey thing and the offensive line thing, that'll be, you know, everyone will talk about that. No one will talk about the officiating, but, you know, but it's all these things in unison. Like, and when the Vikings have already faced enough this year. They don't need to have refs and now kicking issues, and the offensive line regressing. We don't need to have all this shit come at us now in the biggest game of the year. But we know what the narratives will be. It'll be, Zimmer can't beat a winning team. Kirk's a choke artist. And Brady is the greatest thing in the world, even though, And again, we didn't win over Brady. This could have been our last chance. He's in the NFC now, so we might play him again next year. I suppose I don't know what the division matchups next year are, but if we finish second and they finish second, we will play them next year. But it's not even about Brady. Fuck Brady. Anyone with a brain can tell he's not what he used to be. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the refs just, the refs still treat him like he is prime Brady. Like, oh, we gotta keep him in the playoffs. We can't let him not make the playoffs. And now they're basically assured of making the playoffs because they're 8-5, and obviously they would have the tiebreaker over us. They'd have the tiebreaker probably over those other teams that are in our spot. So, so they got what they want. They got Brady in the playoffs for sure now. We got a lot of work to do, but it's like the adversity the Vikings have already faced this year. We don't need more. Just stop. We don't need the fucking refs coming in and fucking us against Tampa Bay, fucking us against Dallas. Just let us win and lose on our own merit, and we maybe would have lost today anyway because of Bailey and the offensive line. Don't gift them a touchdown when they would have only had a field goal, and then just give them a field goal because you give them 3 seconds when there was 1 second on the clock. Like, I've seen all these other, and it's rigged. I mean, come on, let's stop dancing around the issue. It was rigged. These calls are rigged. They're rigged purposely in favor of one team. I've seen all these other calls variations before. I have never in my life ever seen 3 seconds go by with 1 second on the clock, and they just let them snap the ball. Even the time it takes to snap the ball and spike it, that takes a second. So yeah, updating playoff picture there. So yeah, we're tied with the Bears at 6-7 now, but we have the tiebreaker over them, and obviously we can bury them next week. But it's just frustrating. Like there's an accomplishment to what the Vikings have done, just getting to the point where they could play a meaningful game here in Week 14. But you get to that point, and then you lose a game for stupid shit. You lose a game because the refs fuck you and give points to the other team. Your kicker can't. Your veteran kicker can't make simple kicks. And then your offensive line just can't block in key moments. It's infuriating to have it, not even to say like it was taken from us, but to an extent it was. Like, most of this team played well enough to win a big game today. Incredibly short-handed on the road against a playoff team. And, it didn't happen largely because of stupid shit like the refs and your stupid kicker, who better... If I finish this video and find out he's already been released, believe me, that is justified. But it's just not... season ain't over. Cardinals still have a couple pretty tough games left. Like, you can get in at 8-8, and it might have to be 8-8. And you can say, oh, if they get in, what are they going to do if they get in? They're not going to be any good. Well, I'm not looking at this as, I wasn't looking at it as a Super Bowl season at any point. I thought, going back to August, I was like, I picked them to sneak in as a 7 seed. that, you know, if you told me that they would be even in a position to do that with no Daniel Hunter and Kendricks now being out at the biggest game of the year, and all these other things that have gone against them, like, no way. And being 1-5, like, no way. Like, you know, and all the Fire Zimmer people, the Cousins people, I'm just so sick of you people. It's like, you know, mistakes were made today. Like, to be sure, like there are things to complain about, but the big three for me, and you can put them in whatever order you want: Bailey, the offensive line, and the refs. Those three things are the reason the Vikings lost this game today. And is it their season? We'll see. I mean, you know, every game is must-win. Now, I mean, I don't know which one the Cardinals have next week. I think they finish with the Rams, but they have another tough one in there. I forget who they play, but you know, I didn't look. I thought they'd be in this position just on the wins-losses after the game today. It's just the circumstances of how it happened is very, very infuriating, because I think most of this team today deserved better. Most of this roster deserved better. And for the most part, stupid shit took it from us. And look, this team has played with their back against the wall really since they were 1-5. You know, and like, I already know what all the narratives are going to be for the whole week now. But you know, I'm not writing off the season, because you know, it's like, it sucks that we lost this game, but for the most part, we played with them. We played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on their home field, very shorthanded, playing their refs. You know, everyone said this was a terrible matchup for us, but we, for the most part, were there with them the whole game, and might have had a better chance if not for points gifted by the refs and points stolen by Dan Bailey. You know, take 7 away from them and add like 7 to us. Do the math. Yeah. But oh man. But you know, we've gotten this far. 1-5. You know, 1-5. We would have been fine being disappointed in December. To even have disappointment in December, we thought there was going to be nothing to even be disappointed about in December. But, and there may be more disappointment to come. We'll see. You know, but you know, obviously we need Kendricks back. I think you know, we can get, you know, we got Eric Kendricks back. We can win all 3 of these remaining games, even the Saints. You know, but you know, it's going to be tough. But it's been tough. It's been a tough season. You know. But this team has been very resilient, and I don't think they were going to stop being resilient. They were even resilient in this game. They kind of, you know, the Bailey stuff and everything with the refs and everything, and the touchdowns for the second half. They could have given up. They didn't. They got it. They at least got back in position to maybe make it a game, and then Bailey fucked them again. But you know, like, they pulled out of the muck at 1-5. They can pull out of the muck at 6 and 7. And, you know, the goal before was, hey, let's play meaningful December football. I think the goal now is, hey, let's play meaningful Week 17 football.